Womp womp womp. Jacob Sockness has been banned from Twitter. The post that got him banned was tweeted on January 6th. He wrote, "Collapse the system, use COVID-19 against the Democrats, cough on them, and get the virus to those who deserve it." This was reported by a Twitter user and his account was eliminated. Personally, I think this is a bad thing because I would like to know what he was up to, but whatever, he's gone now, so that means that we have nothing else to talk about, right? No, actually. An anonymous Twitter user, who I will not divulge the identity of here, was actually in contact with Jacob. They were DMing him and getting on his side and forming some trust with him. They started DMing and they talked to each other over the course of several days, and of course, all the while, they were leaking me their DMs. Now that Jacob has been banned from Twitter, there is no reason to keep this farce going, and so I can throw away their secret undercover identity and can reveal the conversation between Jacob and this individual. The part of Jacob in this conversation will be voiced by me, whereas the secret other person will be voiced by my friend Eric.
Hello, Mr. Sockness, if I may call you that.
Chris Chan is extremely adverse to horror of any type. Personally, I'm intrigued by the Cthulhu mythos, and have the Simon Necronomicon and a grimoire by another author, Donand Tyson, who made a real path of personal development from the main deities. I know myself to be a contactee and channeler of aliens from Andromeda. Jake is fine if you're typing from a phone.
As a Lovecraft scholar, I prefer his Dream Cycle and a few of his comedy works.
I've yet to obtain any original works from the man, but I would like to get the source material.
So what's this about magics and blood rites and what have you? Can you actually conjure?
I've spent 20 years trying to conjure my gods and bring them over.
Lovecraft has an archive online. It has photos, stories, letters, everything. If you don't mind reading from a screen, it's an excellent source of his works.
I have a learning disability, and I use a text-to-speech program for reading books. I think Lovecraft actually had visions, because the aliens I saw through the eyes of my contacts off-world show they can look like that.
It should work, as they are text rather than images. Let me fetch you that link.
Okay, thanks. He then posted the link. Chris Chan can't appreciate the genius of Lovecraft.
That has all fictional stories. Horror, comedy, and all. You might peruse the website and find out more about him. Did you know his mother forced him to dress like a girl when he was younger because she wanted a girl?
I have a documentary about his physical life.
If I may also make a recommendation, as it seems right up your alley, have you heard of Clive Barker's Rawhead Rex? Not the movie, the original comic.
I feel a connection to him in that he was socially awkward and had traits to autism. I was an outside person growing up, still am. I can look into it.
He was less autistic and more terrified of the world. He definitely had a lot going on in his head.
I have my own plans of a merge type event, more of a portal to the spirit world that never closes. I have written thousands of pages about my homeworld. He wrote appears to be thousands of pages about the mythos. Anyone on the level of me or Chris, we got busy minds. Chris ignore you because I told her about the mythos, and she knows it's pretty dark.
I can understand that. As a practitioner of both science and magics, with a few neurological issues myself, I think we have a lot in common.
We're scholars seeking the true path. Chris talked to Jacoba, my god, and he told her they wanted her help to fight the squid aliens.
Oh, that's a shame. I really do want to speak with them. Nothing scary, I just had a few questions.
I can probably answer most of them since I'm versed in her stuff. Ask me, I'll answer what I can. I do have a plan to hijack the merge to allow all beings.
I mostly need a conversation specifically with Christine or Sonichu. It's for a research paper.
Oh, it's about them specifically. Yeah, that I can't do.
I figured as much. I followed the story a little bit.
They have me blocked. Chris can't take that I'm more powerful than her, and got mad at me. She doesn't talk to people unless they feed her ego. I refuse to do that for obvious reasons.
I've noticed that a bit myself.
Once I started questioning things, she got distant and started holding me and arm's length. When I found out she wasn't serious about her path to the merge, and that it was supposed to basically just happen, I called her on it, and that was the end of it. The love quest had little effect on her asking me for spells that were single player. I told her it requires a circuit, needed good and evil, positive and negative, like a battery. She really cut things off. That's when I went off and ran her off.
I see. Your magics aren't your typical planet Earth magic, is it?
Not at all. I've had to make complex teach aids just to get to the lesson plan myself. It's not Earth magic. My portals are very powerful. I've done Necronomicon spells with my system and they worked very well. Below, Jacob posts a picture of smoke in his apartment that he thinks he sees aliens and ghosts in. It comes out of my black mirror like crazy.
I try not to stray too far from home. As I mentioned, I am a hedge spellcaster. That means no formal study, trial and error, figuring things out as we go.
I would call your craft chaos magic, as would my teacher from home. People will claim my images are smoke, but smoke doesn't shine light. I would die of smoke inhalation if I was burning things to get that thick of smoke.
So it's not a physical vapor, but an intangible wisp.
I have a camera with near infrared. It sees things the eye can't. It's energy of some kind. I want to get an EM meter to do further measures. Below, Jacob posts more pictures of smoke. On the right, he has outlined in MS Paint the vague figure of a body torso. The trolls think I'm drawing these in Photoshop. No, we think he's drawing them in MS Paint. It would take months to create It would take months to create these with blank images of my home.
I'd love to study this stuff, but I am assuming I wouldn't be able to recreate this without proper training in your art form of magic.
They may be party like a wisp type of energy, but more humanoid in form. I can try to teach you, but it's taken me 15 years of work to get this far, and I learned from the source people. It's mostly black magic. You have to be really pissed at the world to go this far.
Magic is best learned in person, and I am afraid I am as far away from your city as I could be. I try to focus on healing with my powers anyway. I am in the medical field after all, and if I can skip the pharmaceuticals, that'd be better for everyone. Anger is a powerful driving force. I can't say I'm not angry at the world. I've just learned to be productive with that angry energy.
The energy needed to make apparitions requires a lot, and I use the homeless to fuel my spells. Drug addicts, as I see them, are expendable. You'll never get to see the things I do, but you can do greater good through some of the white magics from my home world. This world needs healing that I can't do, because I'm fire. I destroy. It's my nature to be the war for change. It's up to those I assert my power over to use the energy for good changes, not bad.
I was homeless for quite a long period of my life. Drug addicts are also just people in need. Dependency is not only a mental thing, but in a lot of cases, it is something unavoidable if you are stuck on certain medications. What do you mean you use the homeless to fuel your spells?
Outside my building are a bunch of homeless crackheads. I often give them cursed money. They buy drugs with it and die. The aren't brought back from ODing. I take their souls and use the energy to get photos of paranormal activity. I destroy them for photo ops with my gods. San Francisco, destroy any conscious I had before. To get images like I do, the price is pretty high. You have too much heart to go the distance. Don't give up your humanity. Once it's lost, it stays lost. You go cold. You get stuck and addicted to the power.
I see. My patron diametrically opposes your actions in that case. I am a healer both with medicine and magic. I take in those people and clean them up. I have seen the good that even a seeming lost cause can create.
There are a couple of healing paths in my material, but I only collected them for completion of material. Christian got mad I outpowered her by so much. She wants a portal to C-197, she gotta use the dark path. The merge will never happen.
Healing as in physical, emotional, spiritual, and/or oral?
Healing isn't easy, that's why I moved away from it. The world hates me because I loved Chris Chan, and before that, because I'm pure and had to commit grievous sins. Maybe you can heal me.
I can definitely give you advice and guide you in a meditation session. Do you know about the flower morning glory?
No, it's not something I dug into.
Your stomach will not appreciate it.
I have tried salvia. I can get the seed easy enough.
Fair enough. I don't recommend forcing yourself to do anything. Do what you want on the seeds. If you want to lie down, lie down. If you want to dance, dance.
I'll try things if they are within reason.
Obviously. If you want to go outside butt naked, maybe don't do that.
Yeah, too many gay bums.
Anyway, it was nice chatting with you. I'm going to get some rest for work tomorrow.
Good night. The next day.
Sorry about not saying anything last night. I was feeling dreadful and went to bed as soon as I got home. Would you mind if later tonight I ask a few questions about your magics in detail?
Feel free.
So in your tweets you mention a few different entities. I've noticed Rocat came up a lot in some of the older tweets. I've also noticed some prophetic religious stuff. Just curious about your belief system.
The Rocat are an alien race from a planet called Kitasuna. All my religious materials come from their religions, which I have about 35 books.
That's a lot of transcribing if the books are anywhere near the size of religious texts from Earth. So, you mentioned that you have to be angry at the world to do the magics you do. Black magics? What made you so angry? What's the source of your drive to catalog and contact these entities? If that's too personal, you don't have to answer.
The books of age 100 pages. The pandemic restrictions is more than enough to get me summoning. I doubt any of the books are fully complete, as I lack marriage and burial ceremonies for all but one book.
This all started because of COVID-19? Back around, I think it was February, March, where things started kicking off in the US.
Early March in the States. Before that, the Kiwi farms and those harassing Chris Chan had me using some pretty dark stuff in secret.
That leads me to another question, but it's kind of off to the side, not about the magic or the religion. And again, feel free to let me know if I am prying too much. When you spoke about Chris Chan here, it seemed almost like you disliked them and their personality. What was it that first got you attracted to Chris? A few people made some claims, but I believe in hearing from the source directly. Empty thy cup to receive more drink, and all.
At first, it was all about me and her are so similar in our mannerisms. I thought he was cute in the classic Chris era. The trans was a put-off, but the personality was still there for me. Like you, I was going to experience it for myself, despite the warnings that he's a user. Now that it's all confirmed, I'm not on her side anymore.
Gotcha. I do know Chris is manipulative.
I thought Chris was just misunderstood like me.
So, back to the topic of magic. Does that mean that if COVID-19 comes to an end, you're going to stop trying to summon your god, or are you pretty much committed at this point?
I'm 100% committed, but I could change the reason to something less than conquest. I started by attacking China. They are thrashed, shredded, destroyed.
And you believe the COVID-19 is a sham? Propaganda, if you will?
China released the virus to destroy America and push its communist system and subvert world governments. I watch China uncensored. I think the Epoch Times owns the channel. China is Focus is the best source I have for news about China. Below he posts a link to China in Focus.
Okay, I misunderstood the fake-demic posts, I suppose. The thing is, China doesn't seem to be making any moves or acts of war over this, though now several countries seem to want Donald Trump's head on a spike, at least from my country's perspective. And more countries than just America has been affected by this. Wouldn't logically the virus be more likely to circle back to China before the at-large travel restrictions came into effect? After all, there are many businessmen who travel out of countries to places like China and Japan.
China never got rid of the virus. It's been in massive waves this whole time. They got food shortages, power shortages, all kinds of messed up.
Well, then they aren't in any shape for conquering America by force, and America seemed to shun China very early on. That plan to push communism onto your country seems to have gone a bit awry.
Joe Biden's just a pushover when it comes to China. The Democrats are basically communists. This country is dead.
Do you think there's a chance at peaceful coexistence between some of the entities you are in contact with if you should change the reason to something besides conquest?
My entities aren't friends with communism. They are sworn to wipe it from the earth.
Obviously not all. You've plainly mentioned some just want to destroy everything that isn't them. But, say democracy. Capitalism? They are fine with?
The Rokat leader learned of communism and swore his people to wipe it out. China is so evil that when they witnessed the human rights violations, the Rokat had their own trial and decided it has to be wiped out. They don't like capitalism all that much, but it's not as evil.
Now, I won't lie here. I have done some digging. People have mentioned that some of your books are available for sale, or at least were. Some people even mentioned leaked copies.
The Rokat system is actually similar to communism, but free of any corruption. The books are for sale anymore. I can't create PDF files to update the store. I assume Jacob means that the books are not for sale anymore.
I see. There were also some that you claimed you would never sell because it was too dark even by comparison.
The legal codes I know about have state-regulated business, but they do have good private property rights. Only one class of faiths is very dark. The rest range from LGBT, fairies, vampires, and some a race of living stars. There is some holy material, but most of it's darker, since it comes from the Rokat and not one of the other races.
Darker like gruesome and vivid, or darker morally speaking?
Kitasuna is much like Earth, but very different in that there is more than one species with a full civilization. There are at least 7 technological species living there. They all have their beliefs. I collected as much as I could.
I think I remember some time back where scientists discovered a planet that was eerily similar to Earth and may support life, but I don't recall the exact specifics or findings on that. Or is Kitsuna even in this dimension?
Jacob posts a picture of Kitasuna. I think you might be thinking of TRAPPIST-1. That system has several candidate worlds for life. There are tons of YouTube videos about habitable exoplanets. Kitasuna is in our dimension. I have seen it.
So this summoning is less calling something from another dimension and more like a wormhole of sorts. A portal to connect Kitasuna and Earth?
That is part of it, but the Rokat believe is the deification of the living soul, where part of it becomes a god and can be summoned. They have a naming ceremony where part of the soul is elevated to godhood. I'm told to summon these god selves. The Rokat want to reform the human financial system, which they say breeds evil darker than nightmares. I think greed is the enemy they seek to ultimately fight. Greed doesn't exist in Rokat culture.
Greed is a very human concept. Even most animals don't have the concept.
No other animal has the forward thinking and planning that humans have.
When did you first learn you had these powers? I guess, are they innate to you, or did someone or something reach out from Kitasuna? What was their goal if the latter case?
I was born with it, but had to learn to tap into it. I was contacted by my past life father on Kitasuna. He was the supreme emperor at the time. He wanted to enslave humanity to worship him. Luckily, I caught on to his lies early on. I helped his general for the 88th Legion, which is tasked with protection of the centralized imperial government. He usurped the throne with my help in exchange for a ride home on his ship. Below, Jacob posts another picture of Kitasuna. That's when this was taken, but it wasn't safe for me to actually land. It was turmoil for years while Jacoba took control. Right now, the Galactic Federation of Lyut and the Ashtar Command block my massage home.
I see. And Jacoba is...
Jacoba was a general in the Rokat military. He was originally tasked with the protection of the Imperial government. He's now steward, but he made me Supreme Emperor to aid in my own rescue and command missions for the Empire. Jacoba did it to spite Chris.
I see. A lot of the people I speak to about Chris would mention Jacoba as a deity figure. a god of sorts? Are they mistaken then?
Below, Jacob posts a picture of Jacoba. The Jacoba that Chris has met is just a mortal. He can die. Chris was told by others about the god self of him. Jacoba probably told Chris since his ego's just as inflated as Chris's. 2 massive egos. Yeah, didn't end well.
Ha, it never does.
They do take Medi-Cal DNA treatments to extend life, but they can be shot dead.
Now, in regards to those wispy light forms that come out of your mirror, do those just happen, or do you do something to make them come out?
Jacob posts the same picture again of the smoke leaving his, quote, black mirror. They are very random. Sometimes I won't see them, and sometimes I do. I don't ask for it to happen, but I will take photos once the ritual ends to see who's still around. This can't be done in Photoshop. The details would take months to draw. I don't own a Mac.
When you see them, do you feel anything? Say a buzzing in the brain, or tingling, itching, burning sensations on the skin? Trembles, perhaps?
They can produce a great deal of heat. I'm trying to find a photo of me using a food thermometer to get a reading of 167.
I believe I have seen the one. Like, I knew a guy who had, we'll call them spirits. They weren't ever human, I think, but whenever my friend saw them, he would start uncontrollably grinding his teeth and mention noises where there was none. Things like that.
Jacob then posts a picture of his oven thermometer, reading 162.7 degrees Fahrenheit. This is of course not evidence of anything, as he could have put it in his oven, heated it to that degree, taken it out, and then taken the picture of his room. It's 162.7 degrees Fahrenheit. I have over 1,000 images. No one will Photoshop that many for no real reason.
About 72 and some change in Celsius.
I never made money. That's pretty hot. Giddy Devon has no idea. You can see the human figures in the photos he shows off from my feed.
It's not quite boiling, but yes, it's definitely a dangerous amount of heat to be exposed to for long periods.
That was from summoning the Dimensional Merge. It turned out to be...
Oh, and this is just a general question about magic. I've learned in my practice that if I am to not be in a level of balance, I can't work. One of the big ones are certain dietary restrictions. Is your magic in any way the same? Like, I can't eat meat, or it knocks me off kilter and I am unable to do my magic for 1 or 2 months. The spirit is linked to the body, after all.
Jacob posts the same drawing of Jacoba. I eat whatever I want. Mine doesn't have dietary restrictions. Rocat probably eat a ton of meat given those teeth look like dog's teeth. Magic is all in the mind. The ultimate power is when you no longer need tools and can work everything within an astral temple. The more powerful the magic system, the less tools it has. Yuresh is a language. The celestial mojo turns your room-sized temple to a handful of stones. The more powerful, the less material tools, because the mind is where magic takes place. The highest system will be just a meditation of sorts. My teacher isn't even at that level. I'm teaching him now that I've surpassed all Rocat magic. As long as you hold no guilt as to how that steak got to your plate, it won't affect you, magically. As long as your mind is centered, you can eat McDonald's. I would still suggest eating healthy, just for health and all.
Well, yes, magic is in the mind, but that mind is attached to and depends on the body to stay healthy.
Diet can affect your mood a little. I've noticed mental changes from changing what I eat. It's never been anything huge. Just eat healthy and balanced, and you should reach your peak mental state. After that, you'll have to train your mind to work with the astral, and build a temple in your mind. That's my next step.
Good to know. I'll give that some thought. My mind's already got a palace, but that's more for memory.
I can get rid of my room temple and not lose any power. I keep it because if someone breaks in here, it'll frighten them. Most thieves here will be Mexican or black. Either way, they probably believe in God. The temples I keep are shock value, and they just look cool. Christian is a natural sorcerer. The he does is purely mental.
So, Chris does have powers?
Below, Jacob posts another picture of smoke. She does, but they're granted by Satan. She doesn't control what she has. I was attacked by her stuff, but not by her command. She has potential, and Satan sees it. I see it too. Her being a fully open channel means anything can come through her. She's a living door to whatever wants to travel to this world. I really fear for Barb.
Yes, it's also been over 3 months since we last heard from Barb, at least as far as I'm aware.
I have control of what I cross over. That is what gives me the strength of brush off her attacks. Jacoba has found she's actually quite pathetic in her power that she does control. Maybe it's good she never listened to me. Barb's alive. Chris would be wailing if she died. He wouldn't know what to do, and Noel would kidnap him into his evil clutches. The Kiwi farms would take their pet Sonichu away in a day or hours after the tweet goes up.
As far as I know, Noel wants nothing to do with Chris anymore. At least, publicly.
Privately, it's the other way. He'll do anything to deny me access to her. They all think I'll skin her or rape her. She's twice my size, and will probably kick my, if I tried anything funny business to her backside. Below this, Jacob posts a picture he photoshopped of himself and Chris. This is the same guy who just claimed he doesn't know how to use Photoshop and doesn't own a Mac, but gee whiz, this picture sure is fake. I'm much smaller than him. Notice the change in pronouns. Earlier he was referring to Chris as a her, now it's a him because he's been reminded how mad he is at Chris. I refuse to help him now anyways. He's on his own now, stealing my material and using it without permission. Using me for ideas and not crediting me as the source material. Leading me on that she wanted me is the worst offense.
I can imagine, though personally you seem to have a bit more musculature than Chris does. I'd actually fathom a guess that physically you are still stronger despite being smaller. Why do they even think you would have hurt Chris in the first place?
Chris had me pretty good last year. He'll never be loved, that I know. Manipulating people never works. His imagery friends better be good enough, because he'll never find someone who will try to meet him and stay with such an abrasive personality. When I was seriously in love with him, I wanted to try sexual things. I went off the deep end about my thoughts, as any drunk would. If I was forced to, I would probably send her packing in a fight. I sent bums packing quite easily. Not so much back then, when I was mentally better off. With this pandemic and not having the socialization I need for my mental health, I'm vicious, like a wolverine over my kill.
I think that covers all my questions for now. I'll think about some of this stuff, try to apply it, and if I have any other questions, I'll ask. Oh, and since we both know my name isn't Howard Phillips Lovequest, and I know your first name, I felt it improper that I left without giving you my name last time.
I used my real name in making this profile.
My name is Shimon, pronounced She-mon.
Can I ask which country you call home? I assumed the UK for a while.
Poland.
I heard you got great forests to explore.
Forests, marshes, and swamps. That's us.
You know about me. I live in San Francisco. It was sand dunes before a city was put here.
With that out of the way, I am going to head off.
We don't get earthquakes like foot massages. Most of it we don't even feel. The sun is worth it if you have no sense of smell. The city does smell of piss. And every gross bodily fluid. Enjoy your day. It's gotta be late morning there?
Sleep well, and yeah, about.
Thanks. Thank you for watching the Sockness Files, Episode 8. Please follow me on Twitter at GiBi_Devin. I still have a lot of Sockness stuff to get through, obviously. We've been talking about his Reddit account and his books for a long, long while. It's just that they are a lot of content to have to go through. At this point, I am well beyond my interest in Jacob merely for his relationship to Chris. I'm interested in Jacob for his own completely insane lore and the things that he says. I am not following or keeping up with Jacob because of Chris. It is for his own sake. I will see you next time. Jacoba was a general in the Rokat military. He was originally tasked with the protection of the imperial government. He's now steward, but he made me supreme emperor to aid in my own rescue and command missions for the empire. Jacoba did it to spite Chris.
What the fuck?
What?
I'm not even sure I'm, understanding anymore. Why would you be made supreme emperor for your own rescue mission? You... What? You'd be... Okay. We're gonna finish this, we're gonna have a talk.